Hello, everyone. Happy Friday if you're listening to this in real time. Otherwise, I hope you're having a great day. I'm Jessica.
I'm Jen. Welcome to Fat Mascara.
This is our interview show, and I always say I'm excited about this one. I'm never not excited about the folks we have on, but this one is, you call this in the business, a coup. A coup.
Sure do.
A coup. Glenda Bailey always used to say.
Like a chicken.
A chicken?
Yeah, a coup. A coup.
No, it was funny. When I was at Bazaar, Glenda used to say, "We need a coup. We have a coup," and this one is a real coup because we've got Michelle Phan, and on Fat Mascara we always talk about beauty, but we like to kind of pull back and think like, what does it all mean? Beauty culture, like where are we? Where are we on the timeline? And who better than Michelle Phan, who's been documenting things like on her iPhone since 2006 or whatever.
I'm not sure the iPhone was out then, but yes, on
2007.
Well, she's an early content creator. We were talking about this. We're like, we didn't even call them content creators when Michelle started her makeup tutorials on YouTube, which if you're of a certain age, you'll know who she is. Our intern, we have a new intern right now. And I was like, do you know who Michelle Phan is? She did not. It's interesting.
She didn't?
No, because she is probably an older millennial's first makeup YouTuber, maybe a mid-millennial. But the thing is, Michelle has had so many lives. She has been working in the beauty industry and documenting makeup, what's going on since she was a teen. She's 37 now. But the reason we wanted to talk to her now is she just launched a podcast, Afterglow, with Michelle Phan.
Yes.
And if you've been following Michelle, she's had her ups and downs. She's very vocal about that. She's gone away. She's come back. And Afterglow is a new iteration. It's a different kind of show. I was I don't know what I was expecting, but it's really deep and lovely. And we were like, we should talk to Michelle. So
it was interesting to talk to her. I think it was an interesting conversation.
Interesting conversation. It's about beauty, but I think it's about self-discovery and also about getting to know yourself and learning and growing. And I think that content creators, we look to them for that, not just for makeup advice, but I feel like when I watch a content creator, I'm making a friend. I don't feel like I'm just getting how do I put on eyeliner? That's your bud.
I mean, the best ones, I hope so, right? The good ones, the ones that stick around.
She has the new podcast. Of course, she has M Cosmetics, which has some lovely products. And we just have a great chat. I think we'll just get into it. I should shut up and let her talk because her voice is so soothing. Doesn't she have the best voice?
She does have a very kind of hypnotic
voice. It's
voice.
ASMR-y before, again, we even calls it ASMR.
That's probably part of it.
Yeah. All right, Michelle Phan, we're so grateful for you coming on the show. Let's get into the interview.
So, Michelle, thank you for coming. But you and I were just talking a little bit before, and I just want to continue this conversation. So we were saying you have such a lovely voice. We have a lovely tenor.
Really? My mom, maybe, my dad.
But where did you grow up?
Most of my, I would say, formative years were mostly in Florida.
Yeah.
But I never really picked up on that Southern accent. I think it's interesting because when I was a kid, I never spoke. I never spoke in school. No one even knew what I sounded like. Even my teacher thought I was a mute. They didn't understand, she never speaks. Because I was very, very shy. So I don't know if that influenced me, but I was very much an observer growing up. I would listen and just observe. And the interesting thing is, it wasn't until YouTube was when I actually found my voice. Because I think that was really the first time I just became aware of just how I spoke, how I present myself and everything. And I always tell people, anyone who's interested in becoming a creator, it's kind of like therapy in a way where you're really seeing the mirror of who you are, and you become so aware of all the nuances of your face, your voice, how you speak, your cadence. And I feel like YouTube was my training grounds, and it really helped kind of form the persona that I am today, how I speak and everything. And fun fact is, a lot of kids now who are Gen Alpha, who grew up watching YouTubers, the interesting thing is there's actually a YouTube type of lingo, a YouTube type of accent or a YouTube type of way of speaking.
Yes, I've
So
noticed.
A lot of these kids, you've noticed that, right? A lot of these kids, they kind of speak like YouTubers, which is really interesting.
It's a way of presenting information in yourself. It's very... you can see it when people are spoofing things like parodies on YouTube, and they're kind of presenting themselves in this kind of very self-conscious way. But, you're saying that it's like therapy because you're watching yourself. When you were doing YouTube videos, were you actually, I always wondered this, when you started doing YouTube, you'd stop the video and then you'd watch it. Like, when actresses will say, oh, I never watch my movies, or, a singer doesn't want to ever hear their songs. They're like, oh my God, like change the station. Did you actually like to watch your videos? I know you had to edit them yourself, but
No, not really. I was very detached by the time it was exported, and I would just watch it once more time before I upload it to make sure it looks good, and then I never watch my videos again after.
okay, because I'm sure there are some people who are like complete egomaniacs that are like watching like everything they do.
Oh gosh, yeah. Well, I would just assume they probably can't get anything done because like you have to really be detached from your art, in my opinion, to just work on the next one.
Anyone who's listening to this is like, wait a second, well, you probably know who you are because you've been doing beauty for almost 20 years. You've been a creator for almost 20 years. But how many years has it been now, Michelle? Not actually 20.
Probably almost 20 years. I was a creator when I was 15.
You were a creator when the word creator didn't actually exist. But you were creating beauty videos. Have you ever gotten sick of it? Like, I mean, we're talking about this now, 18 years in. Are you still really into it?
Yeah. I mean, it's not even like, am I still really into it? I think I just love creating. I love
creating.
I love beauty. Yeah. I just love the art of just becoming more beautiful. I think that's such a wonderful form of self-love, in my opinion. And to me, like doing your makeup and skincare and just beauty in general, it's this wonderful ritual that I think empowers a lot of us. And so for me, it doesn't feel like work per se. Like, of course, sometimes it does feel like work. Like if I have to like make a video for like brand stuff or content for any of like our socials. But I mean, I always tell people it's the best job. I love this job. Because I know a lot of people don't really like their job, and I feel incredibly privileged to just wake up every day and to really love what I do.
You kind of created the job.
I know. It's kind of cool. It was accidental. Like I didn't really think this would, I mean, I kind of knew that in the future more people would make content like UGC type of content, but I didn't necessarily have a crystal ball, and I didn't know like, oh yeah, making content like this is going to be so disruptive in the beauty space that really needed it at that time, where there was just one type of look and one type of persona in beauty. And today there's so many facets in beauty that we see, like so many, everyone from all walks of life, which is beautiful. I see now it's so much more diversified compared to back then.
When you look back, okay, so we're in 2024, we're creating this, and you look back to when I remember first hearing about you. I remember who told me about you. I remember hearing, okay, this girl, she's doing all these videos. Her name's Michelle Phan. Like I remember the whole moment in time. What is the biggest change if you were like sitting on a rocking chair telling a bunch of students looking up at you, like you don't know when, you don't know what it was like. What it was the biggest change? No, because it sounds so antiquated, like, oh my God, so much has changed. It sounds so kind of fuddy-duddy to be like, oh my God, it's so much has changed. But what has been the biggest change in the beauty culture that you have witnessed? What has like rocked your world?
I would say the biggest change in beauty culture.
From your perspective?
From my perspective, I just think beauty is so much more accessible today than it used to be. Like back then, if you wanted to learn like trade secrets from a makeup artist, there was a lot of gatekeeping, I felt back then. And access to the knowledge, access to techniques, even access to products that people actually use. Because sometimes, like, I'm sure like a lot of brands, they have like a shoot and you have an eyeshadow palette, but they're not really using that eyeshadow palette. They're using another eyeshadow palette. Or product discovery has really shifted, where it was a lot of magazines. Like they were pretty much the authority, and they kind of put a lot of products on the map. And I mean, that was great for its time, but I felt like back then, like it was really about who you knew. So if you were a brand and you knew an editor at a magazine, they'll give you a shout out. Today, you could just be like an undiscovered brand. And if one influencer, they just so happen to buy your product on Amazon or something, they could blow it up. So I would say it's definitely been more democratized, beauty. But the biggest change, I would say the biggest change I've personally seen is a lot of makeup products today are so much more refined and they're just better. Because I remember back then, like if I wanted a liquid liner, it was kind of goopy and the brush was not even that structured. You actually had to, on a technical level, you had to be really good to do makeup. But today, a lot of the products are so easy for everyday users. And so I would say that's the biggest difference is products today, even drugstore makeup is so much better than it was when I started off. So the quality has definitely increased when it comes to product, when it comes to even like looks, like beauty looks. Makeup looks today are so much more, I mean, you see everything, like the techniques are very high. So I always tell people like post YouTube era, anyone can look beautiful. Like you could find someone that kind of looks like you. And if you know the technique, anyone can really look good if you have the right techniques and products.
This is making me feel so much better because, you know, all those memes about like 13-year-olds today versus when we were 13-year-olds and like how much more sophisticated they look. I'm like, oh, it's because they're just so much better and they have the knowledge. But you're absolutely right. The products just work better.
Yeah, they don't go through that awkward stage anymore. Like teenagers don't have that awkward stage like we did.
Right. Like they didn't have to use the weird orangey pink concealer in the lipstick tube that worked on no one. You know what I mean?
Their eyebrows. Like I remember everyone over plucking because that was the thing. And today
It builds character.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. It does. It does
I don't know.
build
I feel
character.
very uncomfortable when I see all these really good-looking young people.
But they have that access that Michelle's talking about.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Yeah. They weren't left to their own devices to figure it out underneath a park bench with like one,
Totally.
ripped out tear sheet and some bad
Totally.
advice.
Michelle, you helped change that though, because you were one of the earliest content creators. Do you think, like, okay, you said 15, you first started doing this.
I'm 37 now, yeah.
Okay. Do you think that makes you change more than the average person having been one of these content creators through this whole like revolution in the way media
Absolutely.
is? Or do you think you just went through the normal changes that a 15 to a 37-year-old go through?
It's interesting because now that I'm getting older, I feel like I look better now than even in my 20s, even though we're told as women, like, oh, after 30, it goes downhill. You already hit your peak. It's like, that's not true. I feel like I'm in my new peak right now because I know myself more. I know my face more. I know what looks good on me. I'm just so much more aware of me. And I think a lot of it has to do with just being exposed to so much content, so much different faces and looks. I can kind of now cherry pick things that I know, like, oh yeah, if I do this to my brows, it will make me look younger. If I use this lip, it's going to make me look a certain way. So I think aesthetically speaking, we're so much more advanced than we were even like 10 years ago. The awareness is so high now in the beauty world.
I was thinking of not just aesthetically, but just like growing as a person with fans. Like the term parasocial, I don't think that existed when you first became a content creator, but people talk about it all the time now. Do you have fans that have stayed with you through all those years that you know of?
Yeah, even like my early blogging days when I was 15, I still have people who follow me. They can say, I'm OG Rice Bunny fan because my username was Rice Bunny when I was a blogger. So, and they even come to my meet and greets and they have kids, they bring their kids. It's so crazy. And they're like, it's what's interesting because I have a company, my resumes on there, a lot of them they grew up watching me and they watched me when they were 8 and now they're old enough to have a job. So that blows my mind. It's like, oh my gosh, they were 8 and now they're in their 20s and they're applying for my company.
Do you feel like the interactions with them change? Because I feel like even how many years are we doing this, Jess? 7, like 8? I feel like the way we interact with fans has become...
It's more than that, Jen, but sure.
I just condensed it a bit. But people feel like they can say anything to you via social media now in a way that like there used to be a buffer zone, I felt like. Have you noticed a change in the way you interact with people, like fans?
I feel like they interact with me no different than when I was blogging. I think... when we think about traditional celebrities in movies, there's PR, there's like such a huge, like you were saying, buffer of like layers in order to get access to that person. But today, you just know if you DM them, they might look at you. Like they might even watch your stories. Like, wow, like that's so game changer compared to back then.
When you started, it was more 2D, you're saying like it was a blog, then it was a YouTube. Now you're talking about stories. Now, like, you've also mentioned meet and greets. That's not.
Yeah, and I would say add one more thing to it is a lot of the people who watch me now, they also want to be creators. They are also starting their career. They're following into my footsteps. And a lot of them are massive now. And they all say like, I grew up watching you, you inspired me. So that's incredible just to witness that.
I appreciate that you have a boundary of like, you're not in their lives, but there's a lot of connectivity that you probably didn't anticipate when you set up your blog, and that you probably didn't anticipate when you set up your camera as a teenager. How have you negotiated and renegotiated that over the past 5-10 years where things have become a lot more interactive?
Well, one thing, my personal life, because everyone's always wondering like, who are you dating? Who are you in a relationship with? And in the beginning, it was different because I was able to show my boyfriend and we would vlog together and do amazing things. And then I didn't expect I just didn't expect like, we couldn't even go out. Like we would go out and we would get stopped all the time. And that made my partner really uncomfortable because he's Swiss. And so he's very private. And I just didn't expect that. He didn't expect that.
Swiss or not Swiss, but yeah, probably especially Swiss. That would make a lot of people uncomfortable who didn't
sign up for it.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't know this was so early. And so I just made a decision. I am not going to show my romantic personal life. I'm just going to completely keep that private because I always tell people like, that's why it's called private life. It's private for a reason. And we do live in an age now where everyone overshares, which is fine. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's for everyone. And I understand like the whole and I think that's why the parasocial relationship got even more intense was I was really sharing a lot about my life. And it just got to a point where because I opened my doors to everyone, people just felt like they were entitled to just say whatever they wanted. Like, oh, well, I don't like this about that person. And that's when I was like, okay, I need to start drawing boundaries because you would do the same in real life too. You would start drawing boundaries in real life. And so imagine digitally.
Yeah, like if a friend started saying things about somebody, you'd be like, okay, I don't need your opinion on that anymore, but thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was thinking about this because I just have to ask about it because there's a negative side of this parasocial thing, which is when people get in your business and think they have a right to comment. They say you're in a cult. They say you change too much. They want to talk about your personal life. How do you handle that? Like, do you feel the need to respond?
I mean, I think because I've been doing this for so long, I don't feel like I need to respond at all.
You're saying that's my personal life?
Yeah, I just ignore it. I just don't talk about it. And I know people want to know so bad, but it's like, it's not like I'm trying to hide anything. Like sometimes like I'll go out, people see us, they'll want to take pictures. And we're happy to take pictures with people, but we just don't broadcast it. Like I know there are a lot of creators who they built a whole brand around their relationship, which I think is wonderful. But I know so many who did that. And unfortunately, life gets in the way. People change, right? And people split and they go their ways and they have to like put out a statement and they want privacy after that. And in my head, I think, oh man, like, I'm just so glad I didn't broadcast my life like that because that sucks. That really sucks doing that.
I get that with your relationship. So congrats on your new podcast, by the way, The Afterglow. I feel like you're tackling a lot of these topics. I call them like self-help or like growth or personal growth. Some of these things that like you didn't do when you were on YouTube. What was the impetus for starting the podcast?
I think because I've been in the beauty space for so long and I was known for creating tutorials and everything, creatively, I felt like I just want to go deeper. I want to be able to have conversations. I want to also be able to talk about topics and subjects that are very meaningful. Then it's not just about beauty. And so this was my way to really kind of pivot and expand my brand into deeper conversations because I meet so many people and when they meet me, they're like, wow, you were not what I expected because I just thought you were just a beauty person. I'm like, what is that supposed to mean? Does it mean I'm shallow and I'm dumb?
Oh,
do you feel like, let's just be real. Like, do you feel that is the perception of people in the beauty industry? I'm saying, let's just be real. It's such a leading question. I'm like,
no.
Is that
Well, I mean, I think like a lot of these judgments. It's just preconceived notions people were programmed to believing. And that's totally fine. It's like, it has nothing to do with me. That's you. Like, you're just projecting stuff that is you, that you have to work with.
I said that in that way, honestly, Michelle, because I feel like people often think that people in the beauty industry are just like talking about lipstick like ad nauseum from 8 a.m. to like 8 p.m.
Totally.
And they're only allowed to talk about that.
I mean, unfortunately, people do think that. And I think it just takes time to kind of evolve that narrative. And this is why part of the reason why I wanted to kind of expand and show more substance and show more deeper topics. I think that helps shift that narrative, like me doing that. And because I've noticed now a lot of my creator friends, they're DMing me. They're like, Michelle, like your podcast is inspiring me to talk about my traumas. Because a lot of us, we kind of show our best foot forward. We put our best foot forward. We show the highlights of our life. We don't show the lowlights. We don't show the moments when we are crushed by life. You know, we feel like we can't show that vulnerable side. And people like myself and other creators too, who are talking about it now. They're talking about the struggles of life. It gives permission in a way to a lot of these other creators to then realize, oh, wait, I can do that too. If they can do that, that gives me permission to do.
You called it your flop era?
Yeah.
Or someone on your show called it the flop era? And I was like, oh my God, I love that.
I think that's great. That could be like an all title. And also, I know that on your show, you're not necessarily just having people in the beauty industry, but what I think is beautiful about the concept is people often who go into the beauty industry or who are in this creative industry, it's like they're not into it because I'm trying to put my thoughts in a clear way. But I find a lot of people who are drawn to the beauty industry are there because they have some kind of creative origin story or something deeper to share. You know, it's like, I feel like we've had, Jen, I hope this is like okay to say, but I feel like sometimes when we have makeup artists or hair people on, we're like, oh, they've got a rich story to tell. Because there's always something really interesting about, like, you're not going into the business to become a creator or to stand on set or be an assistant for 7 years of your life, like saying, yes, here's the little brush, here's the big brush, I'll go get the lunch, because you're in it for the glory or the money, you know, the big paycheck. Like, you're there because there's something very interesting inside you. There's something deeper, is my point. So I think to give that platform, which is what you're doing, is amazing. Yeah. It's not about the lipstick from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. at night.
Yeah.
Michelle makes a really good lipstick though, guys.
Jen's like, she's like, plug the product.
I'm wearing it now, so I just want to point that out. But okay, continue.
You do have it's a very different color for you, Jen.
I know, because she created. We'll get to that in a second. Let's get deep still. Let's stay deep. Sorry.
We could stay deep. We could stay shallow. We could go anywhere.
Go like in the intermediate.
I don't care.
Intermediate. Who's been? I'm all over the place today. So who's been like a really great guest on the show?
Oh, Crispy. So that one is going out in 2 weeks. She's like she was one of the biggest and still is, but she's slowly coming back online. She was going through a healing process, but she's, in my opinion, just one of the most talented beauty creators. And I'm really excited about that episode because I feel like she's one of the few creators who experienced something that was really spiritually profound that completely changed her life for the better. And it's really rare for me to meet a creator also in beauty, also very similar career, where we share very similar experiences and we're kind of going through our journey, and it's beautiful. So I'm really looking forward to that episode because it's kind of the reason why I started the podcast was I wanted to show there's more depth to a lot of these online creators. People just think, these creators are just, all they care about is fame and selling shit. And it's like, that's not true. These people are real people just like you. And oftentimes a lot of them are really shy. They're introverted. They don't even go out. That's the irony of a lot of these creators is they're very introverted.
Michelle, I was just going to say, I'll be honest, we don't have a lot of content creators on the podcast. And I think part of it is because when we do, they're so vulnerable and so shy. Yeah. And I was surprised when we first had some YouTubers on, when we called them YouTubers. And I was like, well, you know what I mean? There were a couple content creators we had like early when we were doing the podcast. And I was just like, they're nothing like they are on the show. And I put my expectations on them And I was like, wait, they're making their content by themselves in their room. That's where they can open up and feel vulnerable and comfortable. It was a disconnect for me. So I know what you're talking about, is what I'm saying.
You should invite streamers instead. Those are the extroverted people who are very high energy and
wow.
Get the streamers.
Yeah, because they're interacting with fans all the time. It's like live. Yeah. I don't know if that's quite our
Who was
shtick.
the world's first streamer?
Probably Justin Khan. He had a website called Justin.tv.
I knew Michelle would have an answer.
What was it called?
He had a live streaming platform called Justin.tv, and he turned it into Twitch.com, and that got acquired by Amazon.
I know Twitch. I didn't know that it started as Justin.
That's Justin's company.
Wow. Jen, we messed up. You should have just called this.
I don't think it's for me.
Streaming? Wait, you wouldn't want to stream?
What am I going to stream? I don't know how to play video games.
No. See that's kind of similar to like how people think us beauty people, oh, we're just shallow. We talk about lipstick. Like they don't play video games. There's a whole subgenre called just chatting.
Oh,
they just chat.
School me. I feel like
they just talk and they go online. They look at stuff that's trending. They react to videos that their fans sends them. It's not just playing video games.
In real time. But listen, we're journalists. I come from a world where like, I'm going to prep. I'm going to do my backup research. I'm going to I have questions prepared. I have
Jen, take that, throw that out the window. It's gone. Okay.
Now I'm feeling vulnerable. That sounds scary. I don't know.
No, it's pretty fun. I love live streaming.
It's a Jen Reacts video. So we throw on.
That would be funny.
Yeah, we just need to watch TV and get paid.
No, honestly, that's the coolest job. Like my friends who are streamers, they're like, Michelle, my mom used to yell at me all the time. Why are you playing video games? You're not going to make money off of that. Well, Mom, and they're one of the top streamers and they're making millions a year.
They do amazing.
So it's the irony of life.
I mean, there's something really darkly genius and totally I don't know.
I think Jess is changing fat mascara in real time. She's trying to get me on board with streaming. I don't know how I feel about this.
I tell people if something makes you uncomfortable, keep going.
Jen, we should stream. Oh, I know. Oh, I've got an idea. Well, offline about it, Jen.
Okay. I love it.
That's the opposite of streaming, Jess.
No, it's that good. So I'm not giving it away.
And YouTube will incentivize you if you stream. So if you stream from your YouTube, they're more likely to push you to the algorithm.
Okay. Noted.
But people watch that. They want to put it in the background. They enjoy it. I always tell people, just try it. Like every creator that are aspiring, I always tell them try it.
See, I like scripted comedy for my background. I like scripted award-winning comedy.
Yeah. We'll think on it. But I do want to talk about this incentivizing and the money-making aspects of it. Because something that has changed besides the streaming and all of that is content creators becoming brand founders. And it's right now, they have a business, they have a lawyer, they have a business manager, all the content creators, you're never surprised to see, okay, they're coming out with a beauty line.
Oh yeah, Jen, I was supposed to ask this question.
It's fine. I'm pivoting. This is what I do.
I'm still thinking about streaming.
When you... I know. I'm still uncomfortable about streaming. That's why I'm trying to pivot, guys. When you did the first iteration of M Cosmetics, it was unheard of to do a line as a content creator. What was that like? What were your expectations back then?
My expectations were so big because it was with L'Oreal.
Did you think you were going to retire?
Yeah.
I don't think I'll ever retire. I don't think I could ever retire. I love working. So I just love what I love creating.
But did you think this was the end goal? Did you think look, Ma, boom, that's it?
I had massive expectations. And I think what that taught me when it flopped was do not be attached to an outcome because you will only be disappointed. And so I've learned so much on my journey to really be detached from outcomes, whether it's business, relationships, all of that, because I realized a lot of those expectations I'm putting, it's my own ego. And my ego will hurt me. My expectations actually hurt me. That's actually what really hurt me was my expectations. Because sometimes businesses don't do well. It has nothing to do with you, right? Sometimes
Are you
bad
a spiritual
timing.
person?
Very spiritual.
Did you read a book? I feel like I read this in a book.
It was more
It's
than
I mean, it's basically Buddhism.
I was going to say, this is like the
attached.
Tao of... this is the Tao of the beauty business, but also just like Buddhism. Yeah, don't be attached.
It's really helped me a lot navigating in life, because even making content, I'm sure you all understand this. You make content, podcasts. I'm sure there's expectations to hit a certain view count because, the brand deals and all that, the sponsorship. And if it doesn't hit it, you feel like you failed, right? But sometimes it's really the algorithm. Sometimes it's just bad timing. Sometimes it just flops, right? And I think if I know so many creators who do have expectations, and I notice they burn out faster because they don't hit the numbers and it demotivates them and they just stop making content.
I think that's why I don't feel that way, because Jess and I really like talking to people. We just want to make we enjoy what we're doing. I'm not out here to do this because I want to be successful, sure. But I can't imagine doing something for more than a few years if your only goal was metrics.
Totally. That's why I tell people the saying, if you do what you love, you never work a day in your life. That's bullshit, because your passion can change. But if you love what you do, if you truly love what you do, it's like a marathon. You keep working because it's like a marathon. You just enjoy it so much.
Yeah.
So it's wonderful that you two really found that purpose.
We're just curious people.
I understand. I'm very curious too. I always tell people having a curious mind keeps you young.
I think so.
Oh, I like that. Now that M Cosmetics came back though. Sure, you had a flop error with that one, but now you're still doing your brand. I'm curious about
how to come back.
Yeah, for those who don't know who you and your story, did not do all the background research I did. How did M Cosmetics come back?
How did it come back?
She's like, how much time do you have?
I meant that in the sweetest way possible, by the way.
I'll give a quick elevator pitch on that. Essentially, I had an amazing collaboration with L'Oreal, with Lancôme. They were basically the first, and it was Carrie Diamond. I always credit Carrie Diamond as she was a VP of Lancôme USA at the time. She was a VP of PR, I believe. I think. I don't know. It's been so long, I actually literally forgot.
She was the one who told me about you. She was like, you got to find out this girl. She's in her bedroom doing stuff. And I was like, sounds crazy.
Yeah, and how she discovered me was, at that time, Lancôme was spending so much money on YouTube videos. They were doing these beautiful makeup tutorials. So produced. It was beautiful.
I remember.
But it had 500 views. And Carrie was like, what the F? How do we get more views? And so she is really smart. She typed Lancôme makeup tutorial. And my video was the first one that popped, because at the time, YouTube, the algorithm would show the top most viewed videos if you searched. And so my videos were always on the top. It was 1 million views, 800 million views. And she saw my video, and it was me applying Lancôme makeup on an airplane. So I was showing people how to do your makeup on an airplane. And she just thought, this is so crazy. Let me reach out to this girl. And so she reached out to me. And at first I thought it was a joke, because at that time, I actually applied for a job at a Lancôme makeup counter.
No.
I'm not joking. And I was rejected because I had zero experience in sales, even though I loved makeup so much. So I was really upset. And then I remember that week, I decided to make my first makeup tutorial. So it's so crazy.
Did you buy that Lancôme product yourself that you used on the airplane?
I did. And I remember Carrie was so intrigued. She's like, that product looks so used. I mean, dirty and everything. But I'm like, yeah, that's what makeup looks like. And so for them, it was so game changers. Wait, so we don't need to show perfect, polished looking product. It could look used. I'm like, yeah, actually, the more used it looks, the more people believe.
It's authentic.
It's authentic, yeah. Because it is authentic. And it was a game changer for them. So I had an amazing partnership with them. So fruitful. And they wanted to create my own beauty brand with them. So of course, working with the best in beauty in the world, I said, absolutely, yes. But at that time, and I think still, even till this day, I think that was the first makeup brand L'Oreal actually tried to create in-house. And so I learned a lot from that experience. But I think what they learned is they're better at acquiring brands and taking a brand from 100 million to 1 billion than starting a brand from scratch. So I think that was the biggest learning lessons for all of us. But at that time, I had another small company called Ipsy that was doing really well. We only raised 2.7 million in seed. And I think we became profitable within 6 months, which was amazing. That never happens. And at that time, I think we just raised 100 million or something, Series B or Series A, sorry, raise. And I mean, it was kind of an amazing opportunity because with Ipsy, they're like, let's just buy M from L'Oreal. Because also, I don't think a lot of people know this, L'Oreal didn't just own M, they also own my name, Michelle Phan. So that was a way for me to kind of buy my name back.
Was that a hard decision for you, or was that something that you didn't think about?
Well, I don't know if I should talk about this. It was, let's just say I was very encouraged to sign it, even though I didn't want to. And all my lawyers and everyone was like, don't sign it. But at that point, it was like, not that I didn't have a choice. It was just very encouraged for me to sign it because it was almost like I went past a point of no return and I had to sign it. And I don't regret it at all. I mean, of course, when it flopped and the next few years, I wasn't getting a lot of the support. It made me feel a certain way. Like, of course, it took a hit to my ego. But I knew that it's not entirely my fault because I didn't have a lot of the decision-making powers, to be quite honest with you. And for them, too, they've never really created a brand. So, of course, like, looking back, I'm more kind to myself, and I'm more kind to the people who are on the team. I think before there was a lot of like, oh, it was their fault. They didn't understand me. No one understood me. And so I was trying to find people to blame. And like I said, sometimes there's no one to blame. It's just not the best time or needed more time to develop something. Because we basically launched with like, I think 300 SKUs. So imagine a beauty brand.
What?
You launched 300 SKUs. Yeah.
I remember, and complicated
Very
SKUs. I remember
complicated.
getting like a CD, like it was a CD
They were
case with a
crazy.
different palette, and I was just like, whoa.
It was crazy.
Oh my gosh, I do not remember that, but that's like,
Yeah. A lot of people don't know that.
Yeah, that sounds like a complicated situation. But it sounds like, well, now you have your brand back, you have your name back, right?
Oh, yeah. No, I'm so grateful for L'Oreal. I mean, Carol, who's the president of L'Oreal USA, like she gave me an opportunity of a lifetime that
I would
I'm
say.
so grateful for. And I feel like it was basically like business school. I got paid to basically go through a beauty business school. So I can't really complain. But back then when it flopped and everything, and people were blaming me, like, Michelle, you suck. You're the one who screwed this. It's like, I can't say that, hey, it's not my fault. It was also, I couldn't say that. I just felt so constrained. And I wasn't emotionally mature at that time to understand that this is just business. Don't take it personally.
Of course not, but it's all like all's well that ends well. You had the most amazing experience. So many people would, it sounds very Devil's Prada, but like so many people would kill to be in your position. Oh my God. And you were on the
Absolutely.
map with the biggest beauty house in the United States. So
Absolutely. No, It
Wow.
was such an amazing experience. And the funny thing is, the really funny thing, and I love telling this to people, is I remember at that time, right before I signed the contract to do this brand with L'Oreal, I was just starting Ipsy. I was just about to start Ipsy. And I remember I asked my lawyer, hey, can I slip in there like I can do Ipsy and they don't touch anything from Ipsy? And when their lawyers reviewed it, they're like, oh, this little business thing she wants to do, that's fine. No one's going to care about it.
The thing that helped you buy back your name. Now that you're in charge and you're running M, what is enjoyable about it now, this time around?
It just feels like a family business. Like it is. Like a lot of the people who work with me, they're my close friends. They're people that truly know me. They know how to work with me. They know how to amplify me. They're an extension of who I am. They really represent me well. So it doesn't feel like I work. It literally feels like I get to go and hang out with my friends. We get to build beautiful things together. It feels more meaningful. I'm not saying that when I developed it with the big corporation, it didn't feel meaningful. It just didn't feel like a family business. It felt, I mean, it's corporate. I mean, you can't get more corporate than L'Oreal if you think about it. And I had to go to the headquarters, and you've seen their office. It's huge. I love the pace that I have, because the pace that I have with M right now feels very similar to how my setup was like when I was doing my own YouTube videos. Like a lot of people assume I have a production company and I have all the, it's like, no, I'm filming everything by myself. I might have one camera person, but that's it. It's very intimate. It's very small. It's introvert friendly. And so I feel like with my brand, it is introvert friendly for me. It really works with my lifestyle.
that's great. So, Michelle, what product are you most proud of in the new range?
Say portrait mode, our powder.
Ooh.
It's such an amazing powder, this one right here.
Okay.
It took us probably 4 years to actually truly develop this formula. Because I'm not a powder fan. I find them to be drying. They just make you look old. They feel heavy. Unless you're wearing loose powder. But I don't like loose powder because it gets messy. It doesn't matter if you get the mess-free thing. It's always messy. It doesn't matter. Eventually, your makeup bag becomes like a desert. I was telling my team, hey, if we're going to make powder, it has to be the ultimate powder where it's a pressed formula, but it's a loose finish.
Okay.
And it feels completely weightless. It blurs the skin. So I had all these criteria and my team were like, oh my gosh, how are we going to make this? And it's like, well, I almost didn't want them to make it. I gave them the impossible task because I really didn't want to do powders. But they did not give up because they really wanted to develop it. And this powder is so good that a lot of my celebrity friends who they can't really talk about competitive brands, they asked for me to send this to them. And they're like, I'm so sorry, I can't like promote it. I'm like, it's okay. I get it.
It's a pressed powder with a loose powder finish. So that means just very sheer. Is that what you mean?
It's completely translucent and it blurs the skin. That's why we called it portrait mode, because it's selfie friendly. You put this on, it literally looks like you're wearing a real life filter on your face. And every single, like my makeup artist friends are obsessed with it. And I'm not going to say which brand founder, but there's a brand founder that has a massive brand and she loves it so much. She bought so much of it. And she was even telling her team, like, it's a really good product.
Okay.
That's when you know it's good, is when you're benchmarked, when you're on someone's benchmark, which for me, it's like, that's the highest compliment.
I've got to try that. Okay. And then speaking of it, you're a brand founder, but what are some other products that you love that are not Michelle Phan's?
Great question. I love a lot of the Korean brands just because I'm Asian. So I feel like they make products that are very specific towards my needs. Like Korean brands are known for having a lot of brightening products and they're very in tune with color. So they're very aware of seasonal colors too. So I'm a huge fan of, it's funny because I'm like, I love all these Korean brands. I'm like, I don't even know their names. I'm trying to think like, oh my gosh, like what are some of their, I'm just blanking out right now. Too Cool for School is, they make my favorite contour powder. Their Rodon contour powder is amazing. It's like the perfect neutral contour shade. And they use it on K-pop stars. And so that's why their face looks so tiny on camera. So that's one of my favorite brands. And trying to think another beauty brand, like a makeup brand that I'm obsessed with. Actually, like I really love One Size, Patrick Starr's new foundation. He just launched a new foundation called Full Beat Foundation.
Friend of the pod, Nikki Posley, helped develop it.
No
one of our
way.
former guests.
Patrick's new foundation is great. And I don't even like foundation. I don't wear foundation. But it was a product that I think delivers on what he promises, which is long wear, true matte. And he works so hard. Like I admire Patrick Starr so much. And just watching his growth too. Like he also came from Florida. He's also Southeast Asian like me. So it's really cool to see people who look like you, who are from your culture, succeed too. Like it's such a beautiful thing to witness.
Nice. And then I can't let you leave without doing the Fat Mascara 5.
What's Fat Mascara 5?
Only the best part of our entire podcast. It's a speed round. It's just 5 quick questions. Yeah.
Okay. What was the first beauty product you ever loved?
It was this NYC lip gloss in strawberry until the rollerball fell out and just spilled all over my book bag. But it was 99 cents. How can you not love it, right?
Sound like you were like using that a lot for the rollerball to fall out. Who is your dream podcast interview?
Britney Spears. She would be my dream guest. I probably would never be able to get her, but I am so fascinated by her story. And I don't know, I have so much empathy for her, so much compassion for her.
I mean, I know you'd ask her a lot. To say what would you ask her is a bit broad, but like, what's something you want to ask her?
I just want to know more about her spiritual journey. I think she went through so much, and even though she may not seem spiritual to a lot of people, but I can sense that she probably witnessed a lot of things, and I would just love to dive deep on just her philosophy on life in general. I think she just lived a very fascinating life.
I want this interview. Let's manifest it. I know that's not really your vibe, and that's not Buddhistic at all.
No, it is. It's
if it's meant to be, it'll be. How about that?
We'll put it out there in the universe.
Jess, that counted as 3 questions, so you only have 2 left.
What do you mean? Oh, because I said, like, what would you ask her? I don't know. There's something about, like, there's something about Britney Spears. Like, I don't know. I'm not, like, a super fan by any means. I want to know, like, what is she thinking? I feel sad for her. Like, when I look at her, I feel sad. I get upset by her. Do you feel that way too or no?
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like, I feel that way about Marilyn Monroe. And you know what's crazy? They look so similar. Have you ever seen the photo of them where they put them side by side?
No.
They look so similar. And I was like, oh, they gave me the chills. It's interesting how they lived very parallel lives.
Yeah, like, because she's very talented and there's like this dark energy. And
I always tell people she was the first kind of like, not TikToker, but you know how like TikTokers today, they get famous from dancing and singing and all that.
Yeah.
She was the precursor of that, if you think about it.
What's your favorite snack?
Shin ramen with an egg and American cheese and 4 minutes in the microwave and then let it sit for 2 minutes with chopsticks on top.
Wait, the slice of American cheese, do you just lay that over top?
It softens the spiciness. So if you don't want it to be too spicy, it really absorbs all the spiciness and it makes it more milky.
Okay.
I always tell people that's my last meal. Like if I was ever sentenced to death row, that's it. That's my last meal.
Oh, yeah. Comfort food.
And then finally, if it's 11 a.m. on your day off, what are you doing?
You know, it's so random. I've been going down the craziest 9/11 rabbit hole. Any chance I have time off or moments, I'm just going online and just reading my research stuff. Like I'm just learning so much about.
How old are you?
I think I was 14 when it happened.
Okay.
I was in 15, sophomore. It was like I was in Spanish class when it happened. Mm-hmm. And I think I was too young to really understand what exactly happened. I'm not really into like dark things like that. I was just so attracted to that event because I think that event completely changed our entire world. So I wanted to understand more about it. But I know that's like such a long answer too. Like, what do you do on your day off on 11? Like, I've been going down 9/11 rabbit holes. That's the truth.
Yeah. Michelle, thank you so much. And congratulations on your new chapter.
Thank you so much.
We hope you enjoyed the show. It's your reviews and feedback that help us make the podcast even better. Head over to iTunes to rate and review us or email your thoughts to info@fatmascara.com.
We also want to answer your beauty questions and hear what products you love. To share a Raise the Wand product review or to ask a beauty question, email us at info@fatmascara.
If you send it as a voice memo file, we can even share your voice on the podcast. You can also do that by leaving us a voice message. Our phone number in the United States is 646-481-8182.
Thanks so much for listening.